So in the era of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and DC's own burgeoning universe of movies that are not really connected but also kind of connected at some points, we also have the Valiant Comics universe trying to get off the ground with the upcoming release of Bloodshot. Now, I was fortunate enough to see Bloodshot in an early screening, so in this video I'm going to give you my thoughts on the film, how I feel about it as an adaptation, the characters, and just the overall experience, and if it should get continued in a larger universe. So the character of Bloodshot goes all the way back to the 90s. He was created by Bob Layton, and he was more recently revitalized and reimagined by authors like Matt Kindt and Jeff Lemire, when Valiant decided to reboot their entire comics line. He's essentially a cross between the Punisher and Wolverine, as he's an ex-soldier that is gifted with enhanced abilities that makes him basically immune to death, and he can regenerate certain body parts after they're blown off. The film basically takes that premise and runs with it, although they change certain things here and there regarding his origin story and the company that brings him back to life. After he and his wife are murdered, Marine Ray Garrison is resurrected by a team of scientists. Enhanced with nanotechnology, he becomes a superhuman biotech killing machine, known as Bloodshot. As Ray first trains with fellow super soldiers, he cannot recall anything from his former life, but when memories flood back, he remembers the man that killed both him and his wife, and he breaks out of the facility to get revenge, only to discover there's more to the conspiracy than he thought. So the facility that he's being housed in is called Rising Spirit Technologies, or RST for short. A scientist known as Dr. Emil Harding, played by Guy Pearce, was the man responsible for bringing Ray back to life through enhanced nanotechnology. He essentially has an army of nanites inside of his body that can reconstruct his body at a moment's notice and also give him enhanced, strength, speed, agility, and senses. He can also hack into different mainframes and track down people using remote technology due to the enhanced nanotech. When Ray first comes back, he can't recall anything from his former life, and he's greeted by several other soldiers that are part of Harding's team that have all been wounded in some specific way, that are enhanced to become superhuman. He connects the most with a character played by Isaac Gonzalez named KT, a former Navy diver who now has an enhanced respirator allowing her to move freely underwater. So Vin Diesel plays Ray Garrison, aka Bloodshot from the comic books, and it's directed by Dave Wilson, one of the VFX supervisors at Blur, the company that Tim Miller owns. Now, this is the first film that Dave has directed theatrically in live action, as he had previously worked on video game trailers for games such as Halo Wars and Star Wars The Old Republic. So he definitely has an eye for visual effects and large action sequences involving tons of sci-fi elements, so this was kind of right up his alley. Overall, I didn't think the film was terrible, but I didn't really love it by any means. I thought it was serviceable, had some interesting ideas, some cool VFX here and there, and an otherwise solid performance from Guy Pearce and Vin Diesel. The film tries to kind of get under the skin of the character of Bloodshot and Ray Garrison, and tries to touch upon themes of biotechnology, human enhancements, and cybernetics, and things like that, how much man is in the machine, and other concepts like that we've seen before in other films like RoboCop or Upgrade, even more recently. Which, speaking of that, this film really does feel like a mash between The Punisher, RoboCop, and hints of Upgrade, and I guess even Elysium to some extent, because they have the whole, exosuits and exoskeleton technology for some of the characters in this film that kind of reminded me of the character of Kruger from Elysium. So, like I said, overall, I think the film is a fun, enjoyable ride, but nothing that you're going to be really, remembering. It's not going to really leave like a lasting image or anything like that. It's just one of those movies that you might have fun at a matinee or something, or if you rent it, you're not going to be disappointed because it was, a solid 90-minute action rom that touches on some further concepts and themes about technology and its place in our world. Even though I am a big comics guy, I'm not too familiar with the character of Bloodshot. I have dabbled in some of the recent books that Jeff Lemire was responsible for, but beyond that, I don't really know too much about his comic book origins or how the character is supposed to be written or his characterization or anything like that, so I wasn't really too hard on the film for changing it up a bit here. As for the future of the character, The film definitely plants seeds for further adventures with Ray Garrison, but where it could go is kind of unknown. At one point, Sony was developing an entire Valiant Comics cinematic universe that was going to start with Bloodshot, then lead into Harbinger, and then eventually into the Harbinger Wars, but some of those other properties had moved over to Paramount more recently, and Bloodshot's the only character that Sony has the rights to at this point. So whether or not those characters will all cross over and have a larger universe remains to be seen, but I wouldn't be mad if it goes either way. I'd recommend checking out Bloodshot if you're really interested in the character, you like Vin Diesel and Guy Pearce, and you want to see some cool action with, cybernetics and exoskeletons and that sort of thing. Some, a cool sci-fi action movie that's sort of like Memento by the way of RoboCop, I guess, but not as good as either of those films. If you have seen Bloodshot, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, but let's try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible to preserve those people going to check it out for the first time in theaters this weekend. If you like this review and you want to check out more videos by me, I have reviewed some other previous films like Sonic the Hedgehog and Underwater. I am working on my review for The Invisible Man and The Hunt. Those are a couple movies that I saw recently, and I will be seeing A Quiet Place 2 shortly, so that'll probably be my next big new review. If you want to help out the channel and support me further, you can hit that subscribe button and the bell icon next to it so you can be immediately notified whenever I drop new content. And if you want to hit me up on social media and talk about Bloodshot or any other movies coming out this year, you can find me, links down in the description box below. And with all that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one.